nobody likes.
Because of, was it maintenance or, I can't remember the reason.
No, we can't find a reason, just,
Nobody liked
the
it.
elderly women couldn't see my vision.
Didn't see your vision?
I think a plaque, a simple plaque would probably.
Oh, I think the tree would be way cool.
I got 10 o'clock, I'm gonna call us to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
May, Clifton,
Here.
Fitch, here, Stansel.
Here,
All present, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Any public comment this morning? We do have one quick resolution to appoint county attorney resolution approving Travis Condor as a deputy assistant county attorney at a rate of $98,882.32 a year, effective September 1. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion?
Yeah, how did we come about that amount for just somebody just starting?
I think it was what.
What they went out
What
If
at?
they
it's,
went out at.
yeah, and it says as deputy, then it comes down as a percentage of the
All right.
leave.
Percentage.
Got it.
All right. There's no other discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're in our work session. Mitch, take it away. Things are looking good out there.
Site safety, security, I got a lot of work going on, so trying to keep everybody out and safe. You want to give us an update?
Yeah, Midwestcott is working on the north and east portico. He's putting the sealant down today, and they're gonna put their first coat on tonight and the next 3 nights. So by the end of the week, they'll have the coating done on the north and east porticos. The handrail, they have done the west handrail, and they're working on the south handrails running down the ramp. They've set the south handrail going down the steps. He's gonna have a guy come in, or gonna have help. They're gonna move forward on the south side, and then after they have the coating next week, they're gonna do the north and east. All the handrails should be done next week.
Can we talk about handrails now, or do you want me to wait?
Oh, sure.
Chip and I got a call from the electricians this morning, and the products have changed from the original bid to what this handrail company is installing now. And the handrails now come with a control device that will need to be installed indoors with a 208 volt supply circuit to the controller, not 120 volt as drawn, and the 24 volt lead pulled out to the handrails. They've installed 3 inverters installed inside right now. One is which is for the wiring to the handrails. The inverters have an output voltage of either 120 or 277 volt, and they sent you all this information. This isn't compatible, and for what we're putting in now that they feel has been changed, will not work in our, we don't have a big enough breaker box for this. So they think they're gonna have to put in another breaker box.
Diane, I'm really confused. Are you aware of any of this?
I just got that email like yesterday, I think, yesterday morning maybe. But I don't know why they sent it directly to you.
They sent it.
Yeah, this is something that we need to work out.
Yeah.
And then we can
Yeah.
bring to you what's going on. This is the first I'm hearing of any of this.
Okay, and they just wonder if there needs to, do they need to do a change order because it isn't working
That's
what was.
what we,
Review it.
well, we need to review it because I'm not convinced at all there's a change order until we get into it further.
Is this, what is this for?
The handrail
There's lighting in
lights.
the handrails.
Okay.
And they're saying what was ordered is not compatible. It won't work, the
Okay.
electricians.
Well, that's what they're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our job
So
to help
you're
sort
aware,
that out. So-
okay.
No, I wasn't aware of that at all, but it sounds like you
Yeah,
got some
yeah,
information on
Do
it.
you want this?
Reviewing it.
Yeah, that would be great, thank you.
Okay.
Did he send that to Chip?
Yeah, I
You
sent
or-
it to Chip. But he called this morning, so I knew.
Do
Do
they
you have all
know
this?
that they're supposed to be working on
Yeah,
it?
Yes, he sent them an email too. I
Okay.
just want to make sure this
Alright.
gets right.
Yeah, because last thing we want is have it installed and it not work.
Yeah, and then the breaker box too small, we go, I don't want
Yeah,
it.
that's-
let us sort it out. I'm guessing
Right.
there's questions with the manufacturer, potentially questions for our electrical engineer. this is all new to us at this point. Okay.
Then I assume those rails, they'll kind of age over with the exposure, and is that true, or what's your
I don't
expectation
know.
on that?
Oh, yeah, sure there's a specification on it. I'd have to look at the exact material on it, I just don't recall what
I
it
think
is.
they're gorgeous.
Yeah, they're
Gorgeous.
neat, I like them.
Okay, so basement door frame, we have the basement door frame. I've got to follow up and figure out how the concrete's supposed to be done under it, or what the situation is there. I guess this has been discussed before, preceded me, what we're gonna do there. But if we raise that concrete, we're gonna have a step there.
So there's a threshold component to it, so we've got a response to you on that. Mitch, forward it if you would to Jeff, and then once you have questions, come back to us and we can answer any questions you got.
Okay. Concrete's done on the northeast and would have been done on the south side. They were short concrete yesterday. They've got a little patch they've got to finish, and they should have the east side sidewalks poured out today. And it sounds like tomorrow they're gonna pour the sidewalks at the end and pack everything up. They should be out tomorrow, be completely done with concrete tomorrow. Backfill, as we were saying, Cody's there, he showed up, he's working on backfilling up to the sidewalks. He only had a day he could get in and do that, which he should have him pretty close. What he don't get done, the landscaper's gonna come in and they're gonna final grade, and whatever you don't get graded, they're gonna take care of themselves. So the landscapers are supposed to start in tomorrow on final grade, be Wednesday, Thursday, and then getting sod on site so they can start laying sod. Friday will be the first, so they can start laying sod. The pavers, we still got a question out on the pavers. They, it calls for an asphalt bedding, and both landscape companies that were here, they didn't recommend that and recommended crushed rock. We've got our RFI out to Rick to get an answer on that. And they're gonna work around with the landscaping, the window sashes we got in. I gotta get a hold of Mole Millwork, get their guy out here so that we can install the window sashes, the 4 sashes. They've been painted, we sent them to the painter, had them painted and stained, so they're ready to be installed, so they didn't have to be painted or stained after the fact. The stone guys are here doing the punch list, working on the punch list this week. The electrician was supposed to be here last week on the outlets. Now we got an answer, and he's just gonna work that in while he's doing the electric for the handrails. One of the days he's here, he's gonna punch them in. Now we got an answer on that. One of our punch list items was to caulk around the doors. And I was looking at with the caulking guy today. It's the original caulking, which is asbestos caulking. So we'll have to have that removed, or we go over it. And if we go over it, it'll be wider to cover it. And what color we want to go, if we want to go with the brick color, if we want to go with the wood color, what color the caulking needs to be. It is cracked, but
Where is this?
around the doors on all 4.
All 4 doors?
All
doors.
outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it okay to go over it? You can cover asbestos,
You can
right?
caulk over the caulking,
And it
yes.
won't harm anything?
No,
It will not last as long.
yeah. because it
So
can
I would
peel.
recommend we remove it, but before I tell you that for certain, can I look at it today?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Abating that shouldn't be too bad, should it? It's not like
No, it
it's a fibrous
shouldn't,
asbestos.
I don't know that you want a big caulk joint there. The color though is probably gonna be closer to the stone. You don't wanna do it to the wood.
Yeah, it's a pretty big culp joint already, it's a good 3/4
Okay,
one
that's
inch.
probably gonna tell me more.
Yeah.
Well, I will look at that today. Okay, thank you.
Once we get the sod down, we've already talked with the roofers, they have the downspouts, and as soon as we get the sod laid, and then we'll get the downspouts put in, so we're not damaging the downspouts. So I've been holding off on them, but, so that is on the radar. They're just called for 10 foot out, so they're gonna go 10 foot out. And I talked to Chip if he wanted to take, hose from there, to start making, you can see on the northwest corner where it's been, so much water comes down off of that roof, it's just making a trench down through there, so.
What if you had your downspouts and you just took 4-inch tile and just, and wired to it and pulled it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run it off onto the sidewalk or something, so
Or
it's
you
not.
could even maybe run it off into one of the dog ears. We could just use a soft 4-inch.
It wouldn't be across the sidewalk, it would be a trip hazard, but
Yeah,
right
well,
to the
yeah.
sidewalk.
We might have to move it by the end of it, we could probably figure something out, we could catch that water. Get that out of there.
Is there any way to just drain it underground directly into the street?
You have to tile, you'd have to put 4-inch tile everywhere and drain it out into the, and that would have had to been, you can do that around houses, we tile, but that's.
Right, is there a reason why we do that when everything's ripped up?
It's never been done before, it was out of scope, it's all budget questions as well.
Okay.
I don't think anybody does it. I worked in an engineering office and we just designed it. It's,
Well, like for the newer
I
subdivisions, you
know,
see.
I think they should.
They go right into
I think
the
it should all
street.
be tiled.
You know, and with bigger buildings, Walmart,
It should be.
Costco, they go directly from that and they're sitting.
Underground, I
They're
think so
underground.
too. I agree. Probably nobody thought of it.
So that's what I got, that's what we got going on. You have any questions?
For the window sashes, how do they take those out? Do they lift and pull, and then how does that work?
There's 4 or 6 screws up on the side, and they take that piece of trim out. That piece of trim comes out, and then they are able to roll it out.
Okay,
And then there's catches in the, what they're called, but anyways, they come out, and the new one goes in. And then they put the wood back in, put the screws in, so it's a process.
okay. And then you talked about the basement door stuff. What about I sent you pictures, Rick, about the drainage issue where it has that slight slope towards the building where we had water coming in and pooling from our last rain.
Yeah, there's a portion of the concrete down there that has to be replaced.
Okay.
So all that's been surveyed, we've got specific heights for everything down there, all the way to the drain and around it, so we understand what needs to change for slope.
Is that something we have to do for the new door
Yes.
thing gets in? Okay.
I had a question about those windows in the jury room that we were able to trim out, and then about moving that paneling. Is that paneling, that wall basically goes into the courtroom then, right? So we would remove that temporarily and then reinstall it, is that what the plan would be, or? Okay. You can see how that's a little tight to get in there.
We really can't. So.
You can.
Yeah, we can. All right, so we're bringing up stuff. I want to talk about the ramps. Could we, I think they look kind of bad. Can we coat them? Could you guys coat them?
You can go in, yeah.
And I think it's kind of a mess up and a mistake, and it's water under the bridge, but let's fix it. I think it looks kind of really tacky. And then when it's patched, that was a really nice thing to try, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah, they look good at the time when
Yeah.
you're done.
I think if we could coat it, and I think it's kind of an error that we need to correct. It just,
Problem is, if we coat it, we're not gonna be able to catch cracking and stuff right away
well,
and address it until it gets super bad to where it's affecting the
It would
coating.
come through the coating.
yeah, it will, because you can see it on the, it's just something I'd look into, coating it, and would it compromise when we heat it, but I don't think the ramp looks good. Also, on the west side, where is that pooling water? You've got that new coating, and it's done this many years. There's a really big puddle of water, I tried to feel under your downspout, it's not wet. I thought, okay, it's coming from the air conditioner, but there's no puddle, it's just a big, and you were out with me, and I swept that off. Where is that coming from?
What are we?
On the west side, on the portico. It's a big puddle of water, it's there every day.
Is it like by the stairs?
It's on the stairs, it's on the,
It's on the
do you know what
portico
I'm talking about?
itself.
Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
What it was, when they coated it, they took the downspout and they raised the downspout, and it was leaking through the downspout, and I realized it was still leaking. But I can have them, when they put they finish the downspouts, I can have them check that and make sure.
Well, I
It
felt
was
under
coming
the
from there.
downspouts, and there's no trail of water.
hmm,
There is no trail.
That's where it was coming from, if that's not where it's coming from now, because all the condensation from the morning dew, it's literally that much coming off the roof that it's running out every day, running out of the,
That's where it's come from, because they never run that air conditioner.
You think it's from the roof?
Yeah.
It's been there, it was there when I first started here, and it ruins that coating, because that
Yeah,
water
but-
Need to
makes
get the
that all the
downspout
time.
issue
Yeah.
resolved and all that.
it wasn't doing that before they done the coating, and they propped it up to do the coating,
All right,
so I think they
so we think we
broke
can
the seal.
rectify that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Can I need to go back to your suggestion on the ramps, because I want to make sure we're all clear on this. So you're suggesting that we coat the ramps,
I don't think they look good, yes.
So-
They don't look good.
and I don't know that you have any other solution to dealing with the cracks that have been repaired in lieu of that?
We've filled in, it's
You
just the
know,
colors.
So then, my question is this, are you expecting this to be a contractor-covered cost?
I do, I think
Okay.
it was a bad
But
mistake.
I want to just state, make sure we're stating all that. I want to understand then, what are your expectations on where this starts and stops?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
What are we coating?
Show
What
us that.
exactly are we coating?
The whole ramp, so when people walk up it, they're not seeing a bunch
Are you
of lines
covering
and
the stuff on the
cracks.
portico on the south side? Are you covering the steps on the portico? Or are
No,
we just gonna stop where it hits the portico? I'm just asking questions, trying to understand where you
I'd
think
coat
we're
it all.
starting.
code it all,
I'd
that's
coat it
what I
all,
think
Steps
too.
and portico and ramps.
Because there's cracks on all of
There's
them.
cracks in the steps, I mean, it's all stuff the public's gonna point out to you through once it's opened up.
Yeah.
And it's brand new, we spent a ton of money, and I think we've been
This is
really
just-
nice
this is
about
just-
this, but it
yeah.
looks really
I'm
terrible.
asking because I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands the
I
expectations.
want it
of
all
that.
coated, I
Okay.
want it to match, and I want the
And
cover up.
you do understand that if it's coated, it is going to be a different type of maintenance issue.
Meaning what?
The coatings have to be replaced.
You know.
Once you coat it, it's,
Then
And
it's
we have to keep
it's just like
coating it.
painting.
So how do we resolve this? Because, you know, this has been an ongoing issue with our, discussing this issue for a while. And I know, and that was actually on my list of questions, is to talk about where we are with the warranty. I know you said it's water under the bridge, but this is something that's been, you know.
Well, the mistake has been made, so that's
Mistake
done.
has been
So
made,
now
but
we
the
have to
thing is,
rectify the mistake.
Well, to his point, it's not gonna rectify the mistake.
No,
It's
I
gonna-
know.
It's gonna increase, ongoing maintenance for us. And I don't think that the taxpayers should pay for ongoing maintenance, a mistake that was made by the contractor.
Well, we can't tear it out, because that's foolish, but what,
The coating's gonna have a 15-20 year lifespan.
the what,
The
the
coating's
coating?
gonna have a 15-20 year lifespan.
It has not been my, sorry, Chuck, I'm gonna have to just point out, that's not been my experience on the other three porticos.
That's because they never leveled the porches right before they put the coating on.
So
Yeah, I can't speak to
either way, it's gonna be a maintenance thing.
well, and we're gonna have 3 porticos that'll be on the same schedule already.
So I just, I mean, I don't wanna tear it out, Diane, but had this been addressed when we first started pointing it out and the issues, it should have been pulled out.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
no, I don't
It
agree
should have
with
been pulled
that.
out,
I
because
don't
there was,
agree.
you know, they did not do it right. they did not follow specs, they did not do the testing that was required per specs, and we made the decision as a board to not pull cores because we didn't want to increase more damage, which is understandable. But my point is that we paid for something new, and it looks bad. And
Okay.
we're not gonna, anything we do going forward is gonna be, there's gonna be some downside to it, because this was done wrong, and I don't know what the solution is.
Well, we all agree on that, so let's come up with a solution.
I think coating it's gonna be preventive maintenance. It's brand new.
So why,
All the
okay,
stuff
tell
right
us
now.
why will it be preventive? That's a great idea.
Well, if the cracks are open, even though they're sealed, I mean, they're open to the weather, especially the west wrap when it's turned on for the heating, and that. The coating's gonna protect all those cracks.
Do we know how the coating will react though if it's heated?
It'll be fine. The
It
coating
won't.
itself, what you're seeing now as they prep is more of an epoxy and repair. The coating actually has some elasticity to it. So it will cover the cracks, and Chip is right, it can extend the life of concrete, which is the reason you're doing it on all your other porticos.
Mhm.
And rather than rip all those out, you've chosen to basically coat those when the time is right. Since I've been working down here, which has probably been 20 years, almost 20 years, I think those have been done, this will be the third time I've witnessed it.
Okay.
Now, we were involved in it, it was just maintenance that was done, and when we started to see some wear and tear, they were patched in spots where they were recoated.
That's been a nightmare for the 9 years I've been on it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and to be fair, those porticos are much different than the new one. They obviously are a mix of brick and concrete and stone and everything else. They
Right.
move differently, and they are what they are until you choose to replace the slabs and the stone. So Chip's point about you can coat what you have, it probably will last much longer. To your point, it may last the duration you suggested, but it's not currently lasted that on the other portions.
Okay.
But I agree with Chip that I think when it was done previous, these people leveled it all out, and it wasn't done before, and you could tell before it wasn't leveled out because it had bubbles in it.
Oh, yeah, what they did now
It's
looks
great.
so much better.
So much
Oh, my
better.
goodness.
So that's gonna be the
yes.
difference with doing the ramps and those port. It's all new concrete, it's gonna adhere just like flooring to a new house as opposed to going into an old wooden floor that you don't level.
And those other porticos look good now, but you've got limestone underneath there and
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
this stuff's gonna, they probably won't last as
So-
long as you did.
So the only concern I have with that, again, is the heating element on the west.
It'll be fine. I can confirm it for you.
Yeah, could you confirm that?
I'd be glad to do it.
So, I think this is my proposal, because I think it looks really bad.
So if that's, and I will confirm that, or else has obviously got to agree that that's in a direction that we would head, then what does that do to the current warranty language?
We'll figure it
Well,
out.
we'll discuss that as a board. I think that the current warranty language should stay, because if it lasts as long as Chip says, then it's gonna last longer than the warranty that we
Okay.
discussed. But I don't wanna do away with the warranty. This was, a mistake that was made, and, we need to make sure we protect ourselves and the taxpayers of public property. So, if you guys wanna talk amongst yourselves on what you think about that, we can talk about that as a board.
We're having another work session, just a week work, aren't we?
Yes.
We're gonna have another,
Next Tuesday.
let's talk about that. You kind of wanted mentioned, maybe, since we're so fast and furious, having just brief meeting every week.
That was brought up,
It was
I'm
brought up.
fine, I don't have
I'm
any
fine with
problem.
that.
I'm
Whatever
fine with
you
that
wanna
every
do.
week. If we
If
could
we're
do it
there
right after
available or
regular
not.
meetings.
Yeah.
And if you can't come, even touching base with Jeff keeps us in the
Yeah,
loop.
sure.
And if we, going back to the portico, if we add the coating onto the portico and the sidewalks and the stairs, there's gonna be an added expense there that's not figured in. or
The stairs would be, but the
And-
ramps,
Not the ramps, but the stairs and the deck, if you want the deck and the stairs.
The only reason we're doing this is because of the ramp. We would not be doing it if it were not for the
Well,
ramp.
you could stop it.
You
We
just
do it on the-
We
portico.
could,
on the- on the
but
slope.
it's not gonna look good, and then we're gonna
Looks
still
better than
get
what you got
questions
now,
from
I
the
think.
public.
yeah, it's better than what we have now.
That's true, but what we have now is a direct result of an error on the contract.
I agree.
So, I agree with Diane, I think it should be the whole thing, and to be honest with you, that should not be expense that the taxpayers should cover. So I understand you guys need to discuss that, and that's fine, we don't have to make a decision right this second, but that's something that, if I'm misunderstanding the sense of the board, is that we should not be paying for that.
We're
I don't
drilling the
think so.
holes for, the handrail now, we can actually use them for cores and have that concrete tested. And we can look into it deeper to see, you know,
Right, so if you guys want
where
to
it
talk about
falls
that.
back on us for the concrete crack.
Okay, we can, good, we'll both
We can
look
revisit
into
it
it.
next
We'll
Tuesday.
use it. So that was, my other question was on the concrete warranty, so we'll talk about that when you guys come
Yeah,
back to minds
please.
there. South door mechanicals, how are those? Do we have those in yet? Do we have any
I have
expectations?
information from the hardware supplier that I did review that I received yesterday.
And they won't take the wrong ones back, is that true?
Sorry.
Wow, so we don't have to pay for that, right?
No, we shouldn't pay for
Because
that.
they,
So let me look at this, please, because there's some things here that concern me on a couple different levels. Frankly, the hardware supplier and the manufacturer that recommended the hardware is the same person who's recommending something different. So that's not even something that we provide, it's recommendations that we get from the hardware suppliers. So something there is amiss in my mind. The fundamental issue, I believe, is that the hardware operators were not sized to handle the weight of the doors, and we did not know the weight of the doors ahead of time. So we're changing operators, and I think those are probably the biggest expense on all of this. So I need to dig into this and understand it, and then I will bring some information back to you. There is a portion of this, certainly, that the county will be paying for, in my opinion.
I don't want to,
Well,
Well, the difference between the smaller ones and the larger
well,
ones.
yes,
is the
yeah,
cost
that.
of
Exactly.
that,
They keep
Yeah,
Keeping the small-
if
keeping the
it's
smaller
something that you
ones.
would have had to have anyway,
Right.
then that's the portion that I would expect the
Okay,
county would
right.
be
I
paying.
agree with that, I agree with
So
that.
we will, let me get into this further. I can't answer your questions, Heather, completely until I've been through.
Okay. And the last thing I have is, and I already talked to you about this, is the tuck pointing on the cheek walls. The color seems off, and the workmanship is off. There's some very sloppy, workmanship on the tuck point in these cheek walls.
I'd be glad to take a look at it, Heather.
Okay,
I think that you're gonna find that all of those cheek walls are not gonna be of the same quality ever than the new stone, because they've been rebuilt about 4 times. So
I'm not
would-
talking about the stone, I'm talking about the tuck pointing itself, is
I
the new
understand.
tuck pointing.
I understand.
Yeah.
My point is, there's gonna be joints that are gonna be bigger and smaller, because we're fitting back existing stones that aren't gonna come back together like they did once originally. They weren't in that condition when we obviously came on the job. So I will look at it, but I need to take that into consideration as I evaluate it.
Okay.
And that, if you look, that's fading quickly, that grout.
Okay, I'll look at it.
It's
But the other,
fading
the other concern I
Those been
have,
washed,
I'm not sure. I think they were.
that's something we should check too.
I don't-
Yeah,
no.
I'd check with them. and
I think if you wash it,
They're
So-
here in town still, so.
Okay.
I'll check.
the other concern I have, and I mentioned it to him, was that, and he explained the joint issue. I don't entirely agree, but set that aside. The actual tuck pointing itself was the quality of tuck pointing. It looks glomped on, it doesn't look smooth, it looks messy, it just does not look as
You
well
have-
done as the
Can you
other.
identify specifically which ones?
Well, the ones that was the worst is the cheek wall on the southeast side. So it's on the east
Okay.
side and it's the south one. That one is what caught my eye as I was leaving work one night, and then I looked at all the rest. So that looked
Okay.
like the worst one to me. But all of them had some issues, so.
and from growing up here, I think they always look like that. Kind of. They always sort of look like that.
But I understand that, but we pulled them out, we paid money. And
Yeah,
we're
but I
back
don't want
in.
them to
I
make
at
them
least-
look,
I can set aside the whole
They
joint
didn't.
size issue. Again, I don't entirely agree, but I'm willing to set that aside. What I can't set aside is that it looks messy. So at the very least, if you're gonna have that, you should at least be smooth
Yeah.
and look like it's done well.
Right. Let me look at them, thank you.
okay, are you done yet?
Yeah.
Where you're gonna put the pavers, are you gonna really put asphalt in there?
There are two ways to do pavers, that we get to talk about. So you pour concrete basically like so, and you come back in and you separate pavers. There's two methods to do them. Here's the concrete slab. This is your brick. You put a series of bricks in. There's two ways to do this. There's two schools of thought on it. One is you come in here and you put a leveling compound that's usually asphalt in there, and then you trowel on an asphalt cement that goes here, and you stick them down. The joints get filled with sand. What that does is it basically keeps most of the moisture then sheeting off of this rather than coming down through it. There is still moisture in this assembly, okay? That's one way to do this. The other one, and this has been proposed by our landscape contractor in lieu of this, which we see all the time, is you come back in here and you set your bricks, but you do a stone bed or sand in here, and you make sure that you've got drainage holes here. The difference is here that your water can sheet off and it can come down through this. It will come down through this and potentially then work out and weep into the soil below this.
Is that option?
This is what was bid.
Okay.
What if you,
Can I finish for just a
Yeah.
second? Let me give you some more information here. So fundamentally, there's two approaches to this. This tends to minimize the water that's in the system. This lets the water come through it, and it sheets off as well. This then must have the drainage to adequately work long-term. This is the way most commercial applications are done or have been done in the past. We start to see this more often now. But in my experience, at least, this is the one that has been more durable in commercial work. When you go out and you look at all the brick paving that's been done by the city, that's all been done that way. When you see brick paving that's been done by the city of Des Moines and crosswalks or other things, it's done this way.
And that's what's spec.
That's what's spec.
So, I have a question. So on the one on the right, are we, because it weaves into the soil, are we open up the risk of weeds coming through there?
No,
Okay.
no, that's, none of that's, it's a reasonable question, but no, none of that. So really what makes this system work is to make sure that the subgrade that's down here is adequate to let some of that out.
so you already have, they've already poured cement.
Right, and we're already over top of this, so.
Which is gravel, right?
What is gravel, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look at some of this today and understand, you know, what was actually placed. And I will confirm with the manufacturer on brick that this is an acceptable system. And I can potentially accept this if I see that the subgrade is something that's decent. The other challenge I've got right now is my landscape architect that I lean on for this kind of thing. He's in jury duty, he's been a little bit difficult to reach. So we've got information and some RFIs that were exchanged late last week, and we're still working through this right now.
Seems to me the aggregate base would be cheaper than the asphalt base, so if they wanna do that change, it should be cheaper, is that accurate?
I don't know the answer to that. It could be, certainly, but you've also got to drill these holes every 4 feet on center that come into that as well, so you've got something that's a little different there.
And do we compromise the integrity of the concrete with these little holes?
No. Nope, not at all. So let me do the evaluation on this, and I'll come back, and if this isn't adequate, then we need to stick with what's there.
Yeah,
I think the challenge that we're hearing from your sub is that the individuals that lay this for this particular sub, we've lost, or they don't have anymore. Is that, did I understand that?
They got, now, there were two different landscapers that were
Okay.
there, and they were just concerned with the colored concrete, that they were gonna get it on the concrete, and then
That's,
have to
you
have
understand then, that needs to be
That
protected,
concerns
yeah.
me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this avoids that, but in this scenario, yes, all this colored concrete would have to be protected.
And what they were both saying, that the asphalt is kind of a thing of the past, they don't use it anymore because it was in the 90s last week. When it gets hot, that asphalt works its way up the cracks, and you can see that on our streets out here, that
That's
it
correct.
does work its way up, and it gets, and then
And that
it
becomes a
loses
trip
its
hazard.
solidity when it gets hot, and if you
Steamy.
drive over it when it's hot, it seeps it up.
Yeah.
through the
That's
cracks.
exactly right.
I did research too. They said that this is an older way that they aren't using very often. That's what I
think-
discovered.
I'll just tell you, when they're
The
done,
asphalt. That's
when
what I
they're done
discovered. when I
commercially,
was-
you're gonna see this more often.
Yeah,
It's more durable long-term than this is, primarily because of this situation.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. The thing that perked my ears though is when you just said it works its way up and it,
Yeah.
Well, you can see it around the square.
and that's a trip hazard.
I don't think it's a trip hazard other than
No,
aesthetically,
you
it's
can,
not
it
very
looks
nice.
awful.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't look
easy,
good,
oozes
and it
out.
shouldn't work its way up if it's installed correctly.
And you don't trip on it, it just sticks on your shoe.
But then it's gonna be trapped in the building.
Yeah,
and
it's
trapped
all-
in the
yeah.
ramps, you know.
This will avoid anything like tar or asphalt or anything being up and around this.
I'm leaning towards that.
Okay?
Um,
And we just make sure that the base is reasonable on it, and we can go from there.
But I would like to, you said you're gonna look into it with your, I'd like to have more information before we make a firm decision. But-
I've gotta talk to the manufacturer of the brick,
Yeah.
okay?
we have a landscaper that's been available this week that we can start as soon as we need an answer ASAP so we can move forward.
So we're talking about brick, you're gonna lay sod really soon. I think we need to decide if we can get estimates. That perimeter sidewalk, I'd like to do that now, because if we wait and he lays his sod, a lot of that's gonna get wrecked.
Shouldn't all be on the outside.
Yeah, but it's still, how are they gonna get at it? And I just think,
That's not, I'm not,
I'd like to get that done
I
at
don't
once.
disagree with that. I don't know if it's gonna be as bad as we think, but I'm kinda with you. I'd like to have it all done, so we don't have any more.
Get it done. We don't have to come
You-
back.
How you doing on the
I got
bids?
it coming in today.
Okay. And did the guys that did the concrete work now, did they submit a bid too?
I did ask him first, but I haven't got it yet.
So
I've
this
been-
is the
I've been
company
impressed
that,
with what they've done.
oh, I
Yeah.
have too. There's no communication because none of them speak English, but they do a really good job.
We're out of the southern dew.
So,
The other three, they don't.
okay, I have to find the one,
Yeah.
hard workers, and it's
Yeah.
really precise. Okay. And that is not your company, that's just somebody you use occasionally?
So we can get it done a lot faster than we can.
They do good work.
They do
They
every
do
day.
good work.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I'd like to change that stone little lip down at the bottom of the ramp, back to where
Oh,
it originally was.
That skinny corner.
At the ramp on the east side of the building
Mhm.
where Brandon removed the stone out of the
Oh,
original
on the
had it
corner
put
there?
back. I'd like it put back the way it was, just because of where it was previously. That scarring on the new stone's not gonna wash off, and it's just a bad eyesore.
So I know we brought this up last time. Has there been any more discussion about that, Rick? Did you get a chance to look at it?
I know what it looks like.
Okay.
It was a question, I think, of the mason understanding what they could potentially do to make it better.
Okay, so do we have an answer back on the mason
I
yet?
have not heard anything.
Okay.
They're on
Did he
site
I
wash
now,
spoke with
right?
him this morning, it was, to resolve this, to put the stone back and cover.
I thought it looked better this morning, did he do something?
I don't think it looks any better.
You don't? I thought it was better when I saw it, maybe it's the sun, maybe the way it hits it, I don't know. I thought it looked better.
It's
than
not
it
as
did.
noticeable in the shadow
Yeah,
in the afternoon, but in the morning, you can see it.
yeah, I like it. But I thought it looked better, and I wondered if he had done something.
I think
You
you're
go
talking
look
about
and
two
see.
things, aren't you? You're
No.
talking about the granite block versus the gap there
Yeah.
between the ramp and the
Yeah,
basement entry.
Right. Where there's scarring on the stone from when they removed it, yeah. So if we can get some firm answers on if someone thinks it can be cleaned off, before we do anything more, I would appreciate that.
and you're working on getting that paint off of the south side on the, or whatever it is, you were trying products.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, we tried some stuff and I
You
thought.
have.
I looked at some
Yeah.
photos from the